We are so excited to be here for this week's Real Questions, Real Answers. And we have heard from our clients that as they are getting kids back into school, that sometimes getting the kids out the door on time without a fight seems like capturing a unicorn. It doesn't seem like it's a possible feat to have. We're hearing a lot from parents that they're having to remind their kids, to nag their kids, to beg and plead with their kids, to try to get them out the door on time so these parents can either get the kids to the bus or get the parents themselves to work or whatever, and that there's a lot of frustration around this. And there can be a lot of frustration with our typical kids, our pretty easygoing kids. But then if you add on the extra layer of having a kid who's more strong-willed or more defiant or more disrespectful, it can make the morning battles really rough. And to wake up Monday through Friday and do this day after day after day for 9 months out of every year can be exhausting. It can really affect the parent-child relationship. You can get your child to school and just be so happy to see the backside of them as they're getting out of here, which can be normal and even great, healthy, wonderful relationships. Like it's nice to have your own time as a parent. I'm reveling in it. But we wanted to talk about some strategies that we can use to make the morning a lot smoother, make it less work for you, have there be less fights, less struggles, and picture for a minute of a morning where your child gets themselves up, gets themselves ready, gets themselves out the door on time without you having to really say anything. And for you to get to have that time in the morning to get yourself ready. And you may be saying, Celeste, that is a unicorn. And that can never happen. But we actually have real stories from real clients that had years and years of struggle with getting out the door in the morning to school. And the morning is now one of the most peaceful times of the day. So we want to instill you with some hope and then give you some strategies, but being real about it at the same time that even I know these strategies and have run into some bumps getting my kids out the door to school.
Yep.
So, all right. I saw you take some notes, Janet. Do you have some thoughts first?
I was just writing down when you said we remind them, we nag, we plead, and those are all, you know, against what we teach. We don't want you to remind, nag, or plead.
Okay.
And the thing that we always tell you guys, and you're going to get really tired of this, but it really works, is to make the problem the kids.
Yeah.
Make the problem why they're not getting to school on time their problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, and then I loved how you said, picture for a moment what it would be like. And I want you parents to do that very thing. Before you go to bed at night, I want you to actually picture what it is like when that happened. What does it look like to you? And most of all, what does it feel like? Because that feels so good, and Celeste knows this too, that our clients that have done it and they get out the door and it's peaceful. I mean, they're so excited. Some of them have even cried
Mhm.
because they thought it was impossible, and it's not impossible to do. And it seems hard, but the hardest thing is just to remember to do it.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. And that's what I thought about this week as it's been hard to get my 6-year-old out without begging, pleading, reminding, nagging
Yeah.
for 45 minutes. I
Uh-huh.
thought, okay, one of the things that we teach is that when we see a continual problem like this, we've got to recognize, first of all, that it's a problem. And then we've got to put a plan in place, take some time outside of the heat of the morning chaos to create a plan and then put the plan in place. So if you're feeling those feelings of despair or hopelessness or nervousness, let's help you know that we're going to help you create a plan. But let's talk for a minute. And is my internet doing okay? Like, am I in and out or am I okay?
It just skipped one time. I thought it was
Okay.
because I sneezed and threw it off. I mean, it went
That's so funny. Like
right
if
then.
we sneeze, then the microphone stops working for a minute. You better watch out, Zoom. We're really going to mess with you. So, um, so you mentioned that we teach that it is not our job to beg, plead, nag, and remind. And what I want to help parents to see and visualize this for a minute, that getting your kids out the door is like a really, really heavy backpack. And begging and pleading and reminding is like putting rocks in this backpack and you're carrying it as a parent. And you're the one that's feeling the weight of getting the kids out in the morning. You're the one that's remembering it. You're the one that's bothered by it. Now, picture your kids footloose and fancy free, not carrying any sort of backpack because they don't have to think. Mom's going to wake me up. Mom's going to remind me to come to breakfast 267 times. Mom's going to help me find my shoes. Mom's going to help me find my backpack. And if I'm late, mom is going to get me to school anyway.
Right.
So there's no weight in it. There's no problem in it for the kids. And the way that the human brain works is that if there is a problem that is causing some sort of discomfort, the brain will go about solving the problem to try to get comfort back. So in the scenario where the parent is doing all the reminding, the waking up, the gathering all the things, the getting out the door, the dealing with the being late, the only person feeling any sort of discomfort in that is the parent. So who's going to be motivated for things to be different? It's totally the parent.
Parent.
So in your mind, Janet, what of those morning responsibilities for getting the kid out the door should belong to the child?
All of it.
That's the answer I was looking for. Yes. Okay. Why? Why do you think that? And can a kindergartner do that?
Oh, certainly a kindergartner can do that. You know, I mean, if they can't, then you've done too much for them, you know, and so you might need to stop. I mean, you need to teach them how to get themselves dressed if they can't. But that's a task a 2-year-old can do.
Right.
And 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 so as parents, we need to just back off if we believe our kids can't do that, then they aren't at the developmental level that they need to be at.
So it's developmentally, it is possible for a kindergartner to get themselves up, get themselves dressed, get their backpack and their shoes, and be ready to go by a certain time.
Yep, it is. And um and so after you have went to sleep with those thoughts of picturing how you want it to go, um then that's when you decide, okay, you get up the next day and it goes just like it always has, you know,
Yeah.
but the feeling's different inside because you're watching and you're going, oh yeah, look, it's not their problem. Da 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 da. Here's the problem. Here's the problem, and then okay, this is what I need to come up for. They got up late, so that's a problem. Um, you know,
They didn't know where their things were.
yep. So that's a problem. Yeah, you know them. Just read them off fast.
They aren't coming to eat. I'm asking them to come and eat over and over again. They aren't aware of the time. They
Uh-huh.
get distracted and flit about doing I mean my daughter stopped mid breakfast to go out and blow bubbles this morning. Like, do you
Yeah,
know what time it is? There's not time for bubbles right now.
right. And
Um,
so it's just not a problem for. And
right.
so then we come up with a plan. So today you're going to come up with a plan for tomorrow. Okay. So you know that she gets distracted
Mm-hmm.
and leaves in the middle of breakfast. So one way to solve that, well, we should probably start at the first, okay?
Okay.
Getting up on their own. Okay? So
Right.
they need an alarm in their room. And you can buy alarms for $5. So get an alarm, put it there. When it goes off, they need to get up. But they're not used to waking up to alarm. They're used to you waking them up. Wake up, wake up. You leave, come back, wake up, wake up. But you're not going to do that. You're going to let the alarm wake them up.
Yay. I already feel relieved.
And then it's their problem because they probably aren't going to get up this first time. Okay, that's just a warning, everyone.
Yeah.
They're not going to probably get up this first time. But it's not a problem for you. And you have to see it as not a problem when they don't get up because you're making it their problem. And so this is really exciting because it's no longer your problem. They're probably going to miss school, or be late, but that's okay because then it's their problem and it's going to start their brain connecting the dots. Okay.
That if
Um,
I want to be on time, I'm responsible for getting
uh-huh.
up. And I want to pause for just a minute to point out the incredible life skill that you will be teaching your kids in this moment. Because I know as a mom, if I see my child not getting up, I am starting to panic inside a little bit. They're going to be late for school. They're going to be stressed out. They're not going to get a chance to eat. Their hair is going to look like they're hobos, whatever. All of these thoughts are going through my mind. And I have to work really hard to replace those thoughts with my child is learning ownership and self discipline at age 6 or at age 12 or whatever age your child is. And this is going to be a kid who can get up for their college education, who can get up for their job on time. Like this is a skill that they're learning now, and that's amazing.
Yep. And just not even to get up, but they're responsible for their life.
For sure.
Yeah, it's huge what you're teaching them just by buying them alarm clock
Yeah.
and not rescuing them. I got a
Yes.
term or not.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing. And then as moms, what I always tell them is you say one time, breakfast is ready. The kitchen will close at, and you give them 15 minutes to eat.
Okay.
Okay. 15 minutes is plenty of time to eat. They
Okay.
come to eat. If they leave the table, when somebody leaves the table without saying anything to you, hey, I'm going to run to the bathroom, I'll be right back. You take their plates and get rid of them. Okay. And then you
Yeah.
simply say, when they come back, oh, I thought you were done. Now, I know parents, they go, yeah, but then they'll go to school hungry. They won't be able to think. We're making it their problem. You're trying to make it your problem again when you do that. So you're not going to say that to yourself anymore. You're saying, I'm teaching my kid responsibility. Okay. So they leave the table, you take it, you put it, you clean the breakfast up,
Yeah.
and or you guys go on and enjoy your breakfast, but don't leave it there, you know, and don't say rescue them. Are you coming back? you know, all those are our temptations.
The
And I know that this panics parents, but then they learn. And they
kids
learn that you're
learn.
not going to warn them. I mean, I would rather have parents just do it because they'll say, yeah, but that's not fair because I've always left it there. And if that panics you, then you can say, hey, there's some new rules in our home, starting tomorrow. And then you can go through them all,
Yeah.
you know. And that's one of them that you just say, when you get up from the breakfast table, I'll assume that you're finished. And that's all you have to say. You don't say, I'll clear your plate away and then you won't get to eat.
Yeah. We don't want to turn this into a threat.
Right. Or a lecture,
Yeah.
or a reminder.
Yeah.
None of that. All you want to do is state the facts to them and then let them. But really when they just leave the table, if you just take it away and then say, well, I thought you were done.
Yeah.
Well, that's not fair. You didn't tell me you were going to do this. You say, ah, bummer. I know, you know, but now you know,
Yeah.
you know,
And in my mind, Janet, I'm seeing 2, 3 mornings of doing that before it's not even an issue anymore.
yeah,
And now I've saved myself from like 290 days of repeating the same negative thing. So if you're thinking, parents, like, oh, that's mean, like, isn't it more destructive to your relationship to
right.
be doing this like frustrated thing every morning
Yep.
versus a couple days of, oh, my breakfast is gone, and then a billion days of
Yep.
comfortable breakfasts?
Right. Right. I was going to say, it's not just 295. They'll be doing this, when they're 18. I mean, if they're still at
Yeah.
your house,
Yeah.
because you'll continue doing that. And so it is just the earlier you do it. And if your child is 16, it's not too late to start it
Yeah.
either. So just
Good point.
remember that.
Yeah.
So that's what you do with breakfast.
Okay. So they're up. We've talked about breakfast. What about getting dressed and having your backpack all pulled together in time to go?
Okay. And then we'll talk about what if they don't get up. Okay. We'll go
Okay.
back to
Do we
that.
need to back up to that one first? What if,
Well, we can.
okay, let's back up to that. What if they don't get up?
Okay. So what if they don't get up? They don't get up.
Okay.
And you let them sleep and you hear the alarm and they're going and you make breakfast for the other kids or eat breakfast yourself. They get up. Oh, they don't have a problem, right?
Right.
Because they don't realize it's a problem for them. And then you say, oh, good morning. And you say it in your sweetest voice. And then say, um, you missed your ride to school, or you missed walking with your friends to school. And breakfast is over. What are you going to do? And what will kids say? I'm going to go back to bed.
Oh, yeah.
Teenager.
Yes. And I'm going to just sleep through school and skip it.
Yep.
Or what I would normally see is tears and a meltdown. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How am I supposed to know? I'm just a kid. And yeah, that kind of stuff.
But you're a smart kid and you can figure it out. If you
Which
want me to help you, give you some ideas, I'll be happy to.
and
Okay.
let me pause to show there the critical life skill that we're teaching is problem solving skills.
Mhm.
And we're showing our kids, we believe in your ability to turn on that thinking part of your brain. And you guys, this is how the thinking part of their brain actually develops, is through exercise.
Mhm.
So if you want your kids to be thinkers, give them an opportunity to think. And that's what Janet said was mom didn't jump in with a bunch of ideas. She said, what ideas do you have? And if you want suggestions or to start brainstorming, I'm happy to help.
Yep. And then, let's say they do meltdown, because a lot of them will, especially the
Mhm,
strong-willed ones.
mhm.
And you just go about cleaning the kitchen, doing whatever, you know, let me know if I can help, you know, and, you know, you've already said that, and that's what
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and then you go about your business.
I go about my day
Uh-huh.
because their choices are not a problem for me. And that
Right.
is the new mindset that I am taking on, because
Mhm.
that shifts the weight of that backpack from my shoulders onto my kids' shoulders where it belongs.
Yep.
And this is where they develop the strength to carry it.
Mm-hmm.
And we brought this up last week. I can't remember if it was just between you and I or on the broadcast, but we want our kids to know that they have the strength. We want them to develop the strength. Adult life is hard. They need strength to be able to handle adult life. And if we keep on doing all of the lifting for them while they're young, they will hit adult life and not know that they're capable, not have developed those grit muscles, and be wanting to come back to you to have you solve all of it.
Right.
Meanwhile, their self-concept and their self-discipline and their self-esteem all disintegrates.
Yep. And just a warning to the parents that, they probably will melt down, especially if they haven't had their problems, because when we hand them the first time that backpack over, it's pretty heavy. They haven't ever felt any weight. And so they are going to collapse,
Yeah.
and they collapse by a meltdown. And so just remember that, oh yeah, this is okay. They need to figure out, they're laying there on the floor with the backpack on saying, get it off, take it back, mom. I don't like this feeling. That's what they're doing. And so for you to just say, no, you need to wear it now. And then they figure it out, and then they go, okay, maybe I can get up with this backpack
Mhm.
on, and maybe
Mhm.
I can start to do it. And then when they do, they're so proud of themselves because
Right.
they really accomplished something that was very difficult for them.
Yeah.
So don't freak out when they freak out from having that on their back.
Easier said than done.
Yep, it is. But just, if we, if you have a plan and you know what's probably going to happen, then it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And so then they melt down, and then you go about life, and maybe they'll go back into bed and slam the door and just go back to sleep. And this is so hard for parents, but just let them do it. Let them miss the whole day being in bed, but don't allow them to. I mean, I wouldn't put any, um, like if they have a lot of electronics, I would take them out of their room,
Yeah.
and just say, okay, kids that don't go to school, can't have electronics.
Yep.
When they do finally get up and they wander out and they want to go out and ride their bike, you say, kids that don't go to school need to stay home and clean. You need to help me with my chores. And then you have those sort of things ready for them to do,
Yeah.
so that is what you do. And you'd say, I'll be happy to drive you to school if they have to drive to school, but it will cost. You need to give them, um, they need to have the weight on them, you know, and I wouldn't charge less than $5 to take a kid to school.
Right.
I don't care if it's, really, really close. And so, I was talking to one of my clients, and he's 16, and they don't want, you know, she thinks it's okay for him to ride his bike, but the dad doesn't. And so he doesn't ride his bike. And sometimes we try to protect our kids like that, like, oh no, busy streets, but he drives a car, you know. And sometimes we just have to realize that we can't keep our kids away from accidents or anything else. I mean, we really need to look at where they're at in their lives, and then
Yeah.
determine what we'll let them do, because it is okay for a 16-year-old to ride their bike to school.
Yeah.
They're old enough. And if you're letting them drive a car,
Yeah. They're old enough to ride a
handling
bike.
the bike. Yep. And so a lot of times like that, I think that our own anxieties will stop us from letting
Yeah,
our kids do what they can do.
for sure.
Um, with how it is these days, I know a lot of parents do not want their kids to walk to school alone.
Yeah.
And if they're in walking distance, you say, I'll be happy to walk you to school, if you want me to, but it'll cost you $5,
Yeah.
you know. And then you always remember to keep something of theirs until they pay you back,
Some collateral.
collateral. Yep, we all need collateral until the chore's done. Or you can have them, hey, do the job before they leave for school.
Yeah. Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
Or sometimes I'll just have the job be before they can do anything fun,
Yep.
before any screens or you get your phone or any of the things.
Right. Right. that works too. And one thing that parents, I thought it just came to me and it thought just left me. Oh, a lot of times the parents will say, well, they're going to miss a lot of school and da, 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 and I don't want to do that. And so they're trying to rescue them again, because we have rescue in us. We are rescue dogs just by nature. And we just allow them to suffer the consequences. Sometimes you need to alert the school. Hey, my son has missed 3 days of school because he's refusing to be responsible to get himself to school. Can you help me raise a responsible child? And sometimes it takes what are they called?
A truancy officer.
Yep, the truancy officer to give them a call and let them know that, hey, this isn't okay. And, but usually it doesn't go to that point.
Yeah, that's the extreme that we don't see very often, but we do know that some parent will bring it up. So we have to speak to it.
Right. And so just know that there is an answer to all that and to make it their problem. And remember, you can ask questions, on the, in the feed here, and we will get back to you. So be sure and ask any questions. And so that is how you handle when they get up. And so now they've had breakfast and we know what to do with the breakfast thing. Let's say that they come late to breakfast and that 15-minute time's up. You say, bummer, the kitchen's closed. And don't let all those worried thoughts, he's, I've got to send him with a banana or something because they're not going to be able to function at school. And if you do feel really guilty and you think, he's going to go tell his teacher that he didn't get breakfast, then call his teacher and let her know what happened and make sure she doesn't pull something out of her desk and give it to him, feeling sorry for him.
Rescue him.
Yeah. Yep. And so, that sort of thing you can do too, with these really young kids that you think might go to school and their teacher might,
bail them out.
Yep. So that's what you do. And then they'll get used to when mom says, come to breakfast, I need to come because it will be a problem for them. So
right.
It really gets their little brains so in tune to what you say. She said breakfast. That means breakfast. I better go.
And let's picture that for a minute, that we say something one time and they respond. And that's what happens when we let them own the problem, when we set a boundary with it, and then we follow through with the boundary. So you're not lecturing in any of that. You're not begging, nagging, pleading, yelling, screaming, any of those things. All of that's gone from your morning. Instead, you're getting up and you're making breakfast, setting a timer, putting it away, and then let's move past that. Breakfast is done.
Just one more thing that I wanted to tell you about, like when Ellie went out and was blowing bubbles. I would let her know that it doesn't bother you at all if she wants to do that. So after you got rid of the breakfast, even walk outside. Maybe your garbage doesn't need to be emptied, but I would empty it. I go outside for some reason and then say, that looks like fun. So it's not your problem that she's even playing with bubbles. Because when they know that it's not your problem, then they have to think even more. So that is just adding some more responsibility to her to say, hey, that looks fun. You can do it if you want, This is your morning to get ready. I'm not the driver here.
Yes. And I could see that there's 80%, I'm 80% of the way of letting her be the driver.
Yeah.
But me grabbing that steering wheel of her car of the morning and trying to be in charge of it, or grabbing the backpack back at any point that she's like, never mind, it's yours. You have it. Never mind.
Yep.
You're doing the thinking, you're doing the planning, you're doing the figuring out. And now it's my job just to drive you crazy.
Yeah,
And that could be so great for her and so frustrating for me. And so I can see that really showing this is your choice.
Mhm.
And I'm really the backpack is off of my back. And
Yep.
maybe it's sitting on the ground right now and you're trying to decide who's going to pick it up, but I'm going to show you I'm not picking it up.
Yep. And while we're talking about the backpack, that is in real life too. When
Yes.
they're going out the door and they leave their backpack, don't go, oh, you forgot your backpack. Let them go without their backpack to school. And when you get there, if they say, I need my backpack, be happy to take you back for $5. I mean, it's still the same thing. You can help them. I mean, that's kind of a rescuing them, but it's still making it their problem.
And still giving them ownership of it.
Right.
It,
Right.
it was them who forgot the backpack, and now they can pay me for my time to
Right.
make it right. They are taking the ownership of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just such a good thing. So,
Yeah. Now, let's say, because this would happen for me, that they come out and they're wearing an outfit that is unattractive and they haven't brushed their hair. And I don't want to take them to school because I don't want my kid to be the one that looks like a hobo and everybody questioning my parenting.
mhm.
But I know that outfits and hair are a fight. What do I do? Do I say I'm happy to drive you when your hair is brushed and you've got a decent outfit on? Or do I just let it go and say, hopefully somebody at school will make fun of her and she'll start brushing her hair?
Yeah, I like that one the best because that really does make it all their problem,
Mm-hmm.
and by saying, I'll take you to school, you're trying to rescue them from being embarrassed
Mm-hmm.
and from your own, your own self being embarrassed. And, if kids know that they can embarrass us, they fight to do it for some reason because it's saying, I can do what I want to. And they
Yeah.
should be able to wear whatever they want to school.
As long as it honors the boundaries that the school's laid
Right.
out
Right.
and the
Mhm.
dress code.
Right. And if it mix matches, you know, you need to just let them do it.
Yep. Hope that it's
Their
some
kids.
point.
And if there is a parent who does or a teacher that judges you, you know that they are judging themselves all day and they're going to judge you anyway. So, you know, let it be at your kids'
Let
learning.
it go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that I find that I have to do with a lot of letting my kids have ownership,
Mhm.
is that sometimes they use that ownership in a way that's different than how I would have them do it. But that's part of carrying the backpack. And so I have to take some time to soothe my own crud that comes up with that,
Yeah.
that this is what ownership looks like. I want them to be responsible. I want them making decisions. I want them problem solving. And sometimes they're going to look stupid and it's not a reflection on me. And if somebody else thinks that it is, they're not my people. And that's okay.
Exactly. They're not, they don't care if their kids have responsibility or
Right.
not,
Right. Or they may have a child with a totally different temperament who
Yeah.
lets them do their hair super cute and put in the cute bows. And
Don't
that's
want it.
okay. Yeah.
But so far, I don't know many kids that are just after that. It's usually the parents.
Yeah. Fair point. Fair point.
Yeah. And
And
you want your kids to be able to comb their own hair and get ready for
yes.
school and to want that. But if a parent's the one that wants it, the kids won't ever want it.
Yeah. And
But they'll
and
go
it
to
could
school
become
and
a
they'll
fight.
see cute, kids with those cute hairstyles and go, oh, mom, could you maybe do this for me?
Yeah.
And then you say, sure.
Yes. As long as they feel like I'm not trying to control it.
Yep.
And I'll have to say that, like, as that's played out,
Uh-huh.
my oldest didn't care about anything for a long time. And and we just kept our hands out of it. And eventually he did care. And some people will never care, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's them. And as a parent, part of my job is to be able to accept my kids being different than me and still loving them as they are.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Good point.
Okay, so we've gone through getting them up, eating breakfast, if they sleep in, if they forget stuff, we're not hauling it back for free. We're charging a fee so that they can start to remember. We're not rescuing them from the discomfort of how they make choices. Let's say that we're in a situation though where we're a working parent and we can't let our child stay home.
Mhm.
That's not on the table. If I had a day where I was in an office and I had a 6-year old, I couldn't leave her at home.
Right.
So how would I handle that?
Yeah. And there, because remember, you're going to make a plan before you do it. So you could have somebody that would be willing to come to the house and you leave. And then when they wake up, they say, "Where's mom? Mom had to go to work. So I'm here and I'm supposed to take you to school, but it will cost you $5."
Yeah. And here's my babysitting fee.
Yep. And that is a great way to do it. If that's something that you cannot possibly do, then it is just, you know, hey, we got to go right now. I've got to get to work, hop in the car. Um, and
And if
then
they
they get,
haven't eaten, they're not dressed,
right.
their hair's not done,
Yep.
like bummer dill,
Yep.
gotta go.
Yep.
Okay.
And they can grab their clothes if they want to and change them in the car. They can go in their jammies if they want. Most of them will try the jammies. If they're strong-willed kids, they'll just go,
Mhm.
I'm just going to go in my jammies,
Yeah.
because they're thinking that's going to upset you.
Mm,
And then
yeah.
you go. But what I would do is is let them know, hey, tomorrow we need to leave a half hour earlier than usual, so that you have that half hour to play with so you won't be late for work. Or if you can possibly call work and say, hey, I'm going to probably be about a half hour late or an hour, and then you charge them for the late fee for work. But, whatever your circumstances are, you want to still make it their problem,
Hmm.
um, in the end. So
Yes.
there's so many different ways that you can do that. And if you guys, think I just can't think of a way to do that, just ask in the comments and we'll get back to you, because there is always a way. So far, we haven't found ways not to be able to tell parents what they can do. You can
Yeah.
really figure out how to make it their problem. But, you know, if you're not figuring out, it's not because you're stupid. It is just hard
New.
at first to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
New to you. And so please ask,
Yeah.
because we've done this for thousands of families. And so they, so we know a lot of different ways, you know,
Yeah.
people are very creative and come up with great ones that I love,
Yes.
and then we
And
just
it
help
does.
tweak them so it works.
Yes. And it does take some creativity. It does take some brainstorming.
Mhm.
And one of the things that Janet taught me when I first started meeting with her was to recognize when I was in obstacle thinking versus opportunity thinking.
Uh-huh.
That when I started saying that won't work because of fill in the blank, I can't do that because of fill in the blank. My child will respond like this and it won't be helpful because of fill in the blank. That's your brain stuck in obstacles
Mhm.
and you cannot find solutions there.
Yeah.
And I was able to start to recognize that when I was saying the words like won't, can't, don't, and then starting to shift into let's just brainstorm wildly. so that we can start to get the creative juices flowing, get the brain into the opportunity thinking instead. So if my child's having a hard time waking up in the morning and I don't want to take ownership of that anymore, I want that to be their backpack. Here's 10 different ways that I could do that. And don't put any limits on yourself as you're brainstorming. Just practice getting your brain to start to see lots of different possibilities, and that will help you get good at this.
Yep. And remember, your only task is to make it their problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's all we're trying to do is make it their problem.
Yes. So I want to give people just two brief stories of examples of
Right.
families that did this so that they can see that it is worth the time to plan it out. It is worth the discomfort that the family may feel at the beginning. But we had one client that it had been 7 years of begging, pleading, sticker charts, extra bribes, people that are already on time get screen time in the car. I mean, she was being really creative. She was
Mhm.
trying to come up with all sorts of things. But in each scenario, the problem solving was her problem.
Mhm.
The responsibility of it was hers. And and so she told her kids, I'm turning this over to you. And they brainstormed for a night together. How can we get up on time? And they went to the store and they all picked out alarm clocks. And what time do you feel like you would need to get up? And that was basically all that she said. And then they figured everything out. And then she did want to give them the heads up. If you miss the bus and I'm driving you, it will be this much money.
Okay.
And so she put all of that into place, prepared to let the plan play out. And in her case, her kids were old enough to just and ready for power and responsibility that they hopped right on it. They got themselves up, they were ready, they fed themselves breakfast, they made their own lunch, and they were ready for the bus. And she messaged me and said, this almost feels wrong. Like, I feel like I'm being a bad mom in some way, that I'm not hyper involved in the morning, but rather she got to work out, shower, drink her coffee, give them hugs and kisses. And then they all went to their places on time. And in that scenario, there wasn't a lot of testing. That's kind of abnormal. There could be a lot of testing for other people, but their morning is so smooth now.
Yeah.
And in my case, my son, I was doing all of the reminding with everything from the getting up to the getting dressed to the eating to getting the backpack ready. And you taught us to back off. And he did test to see how long he could sleep in. He did have to pay us money to transport him to school. He did go to school hungry several days. He did go without stuff that he needed. And it was really hard for me. Like when he was sleeping in, I'm like clanging dishes in the kitchen, hoping that it'll wake him
Trying
up
to
because
rescue him.
yeah, trying to rescue. It was like so hard not to rescue.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is.
it got easier with time. And as we backed off, he now gets up before any of us do and gets himself completely ready, head to toe, on time with his stuff ready.
Mhm.
And even just today, he got on the bus. He realized he didn't have his school schedule. And he didn't remember what classes were which. And he texted his dad and said, can you just send me a screenshot of my schedule? This is where it is in my room. And I never would have pictured us there years ago, but it's taken some time to get there. And that's where we are now.
Yeah.
And it would be
And
kind of cool if he missed the bus because then I get $5 extra. It's pretty sweet.
yeah, there you go. And I just want to tell him because when he called and asked dad to take a screenshot, he hasn't been leaving things home and he's not calling every day. And so
Yeah.
we don't say, okay, you owe me $3 if I do this.
Right.
If our kids are being really responsible and they do that, then we're more than happy to, and especially he knew right where it was and everything about it.
Hmm.
So, you have to really see where your child is, and if they're being really responsible, doing something like that is great. But if they're going to school every day and they're leaving something and then they're telling you to screenshot it, that's when you charge them. I
Yeah.
just wanted to bring that out because
Yes.
I think that parents go, but isn't he rescuing him?
Yes. And that's a really good distinguishing feature, that overall it was responsible, taking ownership, figuring things out on his own.
Mhm.
And and to me, it was a sign of recognition. It was as soon as he got on the bus, oh, I just forgot
Awesome.
this. Will you
Yep.
please take a picture? And so that ownership and that responsibility, but like you said, if it's habitual and we can see
Right.
that it's a problem for us instead, it's time to shift.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Cool.
And I will just tell him a quick little story about, a kid that wouldn't get up. And he ended up missing 3 days of school. And she did have to call. The truant officer came over. This was cool because the truant officer came over, knocked on the door, and asked for him. She just went and got him. And then, he went on to tell him, hey, you're missing school. You know, if you if you miss, you know, any more school, there's going to be a problem. And, um, hope to see you at school tomorrow. And left. And so guess what? He got up, went to school. And we want to start when they're young, doing all this stuff because it does work. And it does work when they're older, but sometimes it takes longer. This kid was in junior high, and so he just thought, this is sweet. I just get to stay home,
Hmm.
you know. And the other problem was she didn't make him do any work around the house, or
It was
anything
fun
either.
and relaxing to
Yeah,
be home.
yeah. And so he
Heck
didn't.
yeah, I'd skip if I got to just lay at home and watch TV instead.
Yeah, why go to
Or,
school?
yeah, read books in my bed and just kick back. So
Yeah,
if the kids are staying home, we've got to figure out how to make that not so fun to
yep.
be at home.
Then it's just coming up with a plan. And these parents have come up with plans. We see it work all the time. So have some faith in it and do it. And remember that nighttime when you go to sleep to really think how you want it to go the next day so that your mind marinates. I loved when you came up with that
Yeah.
word. Your mind marinates all day in the good. So when you wake up, you feel really great anyway.
Yeah.
You feel like, hey, this is a great day because you picture that in your mind all the day. And even when it doesn't, you still feel great.
Yeah.
So it just
Yes.
works out really well.
And I love playing through the scenario of them making some of the choices that I can expect, like some of the negative choices, and picture myself handling it calm, cool, collected,
Yep.
using my plan since I can't control them
Mm-hmm.
and I can only control me. How can I handle this as positively as possible and in a way that's as little stress for me as possible? And I do have to picture the scenarios of if the shoes are lost or if there's a meltdown over
Yeah. What are you going
whatever.
to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
But then go to bed with how you want it to be,
So it's
just before you fall asleep.
positivity.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. But
Yeah.
do that before, because that's how you're going to come up with the plan too,
Yeah.
is by looking at that.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I feel like that covers it pretty well. Next week, we're going to talk about homework because that's the other side of the school day that can be really hard for parents and where we see parents taking a lot of ownership and wearing themselves out. So we'll talk about that next week.
Okay. See
All
you
right.
guys later.
See you
Bye.
all next week.